Hi everybody, welcome inside the CrossFit Update Studios. I'm Sean Woodland with Tommy Marquez and Pat Sherwood as we wrap up our wrap-up of the 2016 season. Finally taking a look at the 2016 Reebok CrossFit Games. We've already broke down the regionals and the open, and this is the end of an era for us. The last time that the CrossFit Games will be in Carson, California at the StubHub Center, and now we kind of stare into the unknown, and a lot of exciting things are ahead for us.
It's going to be great. I get to go out there and check out Madison. It's exciting. But hey, I just knew the StubHub, the little secret ways to get places, and so my game's going to be all messed up out there.
But you know what? It was our 10th year last year at the StubHub. It kind of felt like there was a sense of closure there, it being the 10th year, and now we get to move on to a new location. And you just look back with some appreciation because it was a time of massive growth for the games while we were there.
And we're going to start with our top memories and go through those. And probably the top memory from the games this year is the fact that we went back to the place that it all started. We knew we were going to go off-site. We always do. We just didn't know we were going to go that off-site. We took the athletes on Wednesday up to Aromas, California, and we did 3 events. We actually repeated 2 from the 2009 CrossFit Games, the trail run and then the deadlift ladder. And that was really the start. I mean, that first event was the start of the dominating performance from Matt FRASER, and that trail run. You saw him out front at the beginning, and you thought, okay, that's great. He's going to finish in the top 10. He's certainly not going to stay there. But he stayed there.
And he put everyone on notice by staying there, including Josh Bridges. And people might look at this long trail run and be like, that's not going to be something that Matt Fraser's going to win. Well, he does have a 5:10 mile. He has performed extremely well in events like Murph that touch on the longer time domains. But just the way he came out from the get-go, made that decision, I'm going to be at the front, and I'm going to let everyone else know that they're playing for second place this weekend. I just thought that the minute he stayed out in front for the entirety of that run and crossed the finish line and was just kind of like, yeah, I'm good.
He didn't look that bad.
No, yeah, let's go for the next one. It was basically kind of all said and done in my mind.
Yeah, for me, it took a little bit longer than that. I mean, I was certainly impressed by that and thought that he absolutely had a chance to win, but it wasn't until Sunday. Now, granted, he had a huge lead going into that final day, but the suicide sprint and that series of events that we had in the soccer stadium, when I thought really going into it, he's just no reason to go all out here, just finish 15th or in that little range, and you're going to be just fine going into the final couple of events. But then in the suicide sprint, you make that final turn, and he's kind of in the middle of the pack, and all of a sudden, a guy in red shorts just starts passing everybody and kicks it into a gear that I didn't even know existed. And the reaction that I had was genuine. I could not believe what I just saw, and I literally didn't know what else we could throw at this kid that he could not do. And at that point, I knew that Matt FRASER was going to win.
I mean, the year before, he was a heck of an athlete. And now in 2016, he improved on things he was already good at. So to kind of piggyback off what you said, I look at Murph. Long time domain, north of 30 minutes, hundreds of body weight movements, not a barbell in sight. Again, you don't think FRASER's going to do well, but you rewind the clock to 2015, he took second. So a year later, now a slightly different partitioning of the reps, I get that, but he took 3.5 minutes off that workout from one year to another. So you think this guy's already near the top of his game. He can't get that much better. 3.5 minutes on that workout is a lifetime. So in just 1 year, I mean, Matt FRASER was a different human being.
Yeah, and even in the sprint event, he went from something like the 30s to second. He won his heat. That shows just not only the talent, but the hard work that he's willing to put in. Another person who worked extremely hard and came up with her second Reebok CrossFit Games championship was KATRINDAVIDSDOTTIR, only the second woman to ever repeat as champion. And she kind of did it in similar style, although she was on top of the leaderboard a little bit earlier, but still was in a dogfight.
Yeah, and I think you have to credit both Katrin and Tia in this situation because the two of them together made for what was like a championship prize fight where each one would come out one round after the other, just throwing haymakers at each other, answering to the next person. And after Saturday afternoon, after the separator event, they were the only 2 athletes to hold first place. They held first place for 10 of the 15 events at the CrossFit Games this year, and I think it was highlighted by that Sunday morning trio of events with the handstand walk, with the sprint, and the plow. Katrin comes out and wins that event, jumps into first place. Tia doesn't blink, comes right back, wins the sprint, puts her in first place. Katrin, not to be outdone, finishes that trio by winning the plow, puts her in first place, and would then kind of hold on for the end, but not without Tia making a phenomenal push. And they're both young, so this is a battle we're going to get to see for 2, 3, maybe even 4 years going forward.
And the craziest thing to come out of all that is that when it was all said and done, the top 4 from 2015 were exactly the same as the top 4 this year.
I would have lost money on that. I just wouldn't have thought that was mathematically going to happen, not by a long shot, but that's exactly what happened. We had Sam Briggs, 4th place 2 years in a row, then Sigmundsdottir, TOOMEY, and Davidsdottir. But even though that was the same, the battles were a little bit different. So you rewind the clock, same leaderboard 2015, and the battle was really for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Katrin had about a 40-point lead 1st place. She was pretty solid. Fast forward 1 year, and the battle is for 1st place, just 11 little points between TOOMEY and Davidsdottir. And in just 1 year's time, they separated themselves pretty well from Sigmundsdottir and Briggs. So now what I'm curious is, going forward, are these 2 women that did something a little bit better than the rest of the field, are they still going to be in a league of their own in 2017, or is that gap going to close?
Speaking of league of their own, a man who has been there for a while is Rich Froning, and Mayhem Freedom wins the Affiliate Cup again. They dominated in the team competition, and they are really propelling that team competition, the Affiliate Cup competition, forward more and more. And I don't want to say, I guess we could say super teams. We call them super teams,
right,
as people are moving now to join other teams and train at other gyms so they can be eligible for the Open and beyond. I mean, that's certainly happening again in 2017. Should be some great teams. But what else from last year stood out for you?
Got to give the Masters some love,
yes, we do,
right?
Pat.
I mean, mostly because when we don't, they're just very vocal. No, I'm just kidding. Masters are great. I'm in that category myself, so relax. Sean Ramirez, holy smokes. Last year, he was the 3-time champion in the 40 to 44-year-old division. Guy's just getting better with age. Last year, we had 7 events. He had 5 top 3 finishes. His consistency and fitness are only improving. This year, 2017, he will still be in that same category, and he could put himself in that league with Rich Froning of being a 4-time champ.
On the other side, you have that teenager division, and I love watching that because it's a preview of things to come, and not only that, but it is incredible what these kids are doing. I cannot wait to see what they're going to pull off here in a couple years, and maybe on center stage when they're in the individual competition at the games, to see what they're doing at that point.
And we got a taste of that at the games, and I really think the hallmark moment was George Sterner and Nicholas Palladino in the Max Clean event. 1-2 finish at the games overall. Palladino back-to-back championships, but Sterner got the best of him in this event. And watching them go back and forth, bar for bar, one outdoing the other with each lift, they finished with 2 numbers that were astronomical for the regular individuals just a couple of years ago. Palladino cleans 325, Sterner cleans 335, and generally the school of thought is the teenagers, the young people, they got an engine, they can recover, they can do some of the longer time domains, but it takes time to develop the strength and kind of get them consistency with things like the Olympic lifts. No, these guys are pretty much ready to go. They're not even old enough to vote yet, they may be now, but they gave us a glimpse into what's going to be the very near future, because these are athletes that I think can qualify for regionals next year.
As we mentioned earlier, this is the end of an era. We're not at the StubHub Center anymore, moving to Madison, Wisconsin. We spent some good years there at the StubHub Center and a lot of great moments. Looking back over the time that we spent at the StubHub Center, what are the things that stand out to you? I'll start, and I will say that the thing for me is the tennis stadium, and it's the atmosphere there under the lights, and it was the crowd and being on top of the action. And 2 events in particular really stand out. It was legless, that was in 2013. We had the fireworks, and then that great start right after the fireworks, and then a fantastic finish in a movement that we'd never seen before with the legless rope climbs. And then fast forward a year later, 2014, with push-pull, and I will never forget that battle between Rich Froning and Josh Bridges, and the crowd just going bananas. And then we had the Bridges celebration when he came across the finish line. I know we will have a great time in Madison, Wisconsin. There will be fantastic atmospheres there in the venues that we will be at, but the StubHub Center and the tennis stadium will always hold a very special place in my heart.
Go ahead.
I have to agree with you, Sean, and I'm even going to go back a little bit further to the very first event under the lights at the StubHub Center. Back in 2010, we started the CrossFit Games on a Friday evening. The competition was much shorter then, and quite frankly, the games weren't expected to be at the StubHub early on in the season. We thought it was going to be in Aromas. Some things popped up. We made the switch to StubHub, and that year I actually volunteered for Rogue, so I was down near the floor getting ready for the event. And the women are stepping out for the very first heat of Amanda, the very first event. There's still kind of a little bit of level of uneasiness at how this transition to the StubHub is going to go. You hear the national anthem play. Suddenly you hear the rumble of the jets coming, and nobody knew this was coming. And all of a sudden, the 2 jets do the flyover. You hear Castro immediately go 3-2-1, and the girls hop into an event that at the time in Amanda was very, very difficult and
Oh, yeah.
almost kind of out of left field hard. And you just kind of had this feeling of the hairs on the back of your neck standing up. You had the butterflies in your stomach, and you kind of knew at that point that this was going to be special, and we were going to see some massive growth here.
I'm going to piggyback off that. I'm going to stay in the tennis stadium as well, and the hairs in the back of the neck. And that's back in 2011, an event called the Dog Sled. And that's because Rogue built this implement called the Dog Sled, and the sled and the weight weighed 488 pounds. And in one of the heats, Chris Spieler, one of the smaller athletes, period, in history out there for the men, trying to push that thing, and it just didn't move. It was just glued to the tennis stadium floor, and I was right down kind of in the media pit, front row seat getting to watch, and Nicole Carroll was there as well, CrossFit OG, and Spiel's pushing and pushing, everyone's passing him, and finally he just cranks his head against it and somehow gets it going. And, you know, not being corny or silly, but that was just quintessential Spieler, like doing what you didn't think he should be able to do, and it hit me. He was a close friend. I looked over to Nicole Carroll, who had known Chris for years. She was actually crying watching him succeed. And I was like, man, what a special event. So happy to have witnessed this, so definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, some great moments from the StubHub Center. We're certainly going to miss it, but we are definitely looking forward to heading out to Madison, Wisconsin, and opening things up to a whole new group of fans and, you know, a brand new era for the CrossFit Games. We want to know what your favorite memories from the StubHub and from the 2016 Reebok CrossFit Games are. Put them in the comment section. We'll take a look at those. I know there are a ton that we missed, and we'll look forward to reading those. That's going to do it for us for 2016. We'll see you in 2017. The Open starts February 23rd. It is right around the corner, and before you know it, we will be in Madison, Wisconsin for the 2017 Reebok CrossFit Games. For Pat Sherwood and Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodland. We will see you guys in 2017.